Boom. And we are live with another episode of the Brownwater Banter podcast. My name is Jared Seymour.
My name is Joey Case.
And boy, do we have a great show for you today. Clarence Seymour hit us up, said he wanted to talk about some changes that might be coming down the pipeline with regard to Cobia, bag limit, size limit, stuff like that from the, the Gulf Coast I'm already drawing a blank on it. Gulf Coast Council. That's right. So we want to talk about that today and get your feedback. People in the comment section, Joey's sharing it out right now. If you want to join the discussion, this is your chance to do it. Before we jump into that, though, like we always do, we're going to mention our sponsors right out of the gate here. First person we're going to talk about is Dr. Robbie Williams over at Southern Magnolia Smiles, man. They're located in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, right off of Washington Avenue. If you're looking for a great local dentist, we highly recommend checking him out. They're on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, at Southern Magnolia Smiles, or you can go to their regular website, southernmagnoliasmiles.com.
What'd you do?
There it went. It was a little delay on there. Out of the gate here, we got Jesse with Hilltree Marketing, man. That's Jesse and his team right here. If you're looking for some IT work, photography, cinematography, aerial cinematography, if you need a website built, go check out hilltreemarketing.com. Jesse will take care of you, man. He's got a lot of the local brands that he's worked with on his website. You can check out some of his work, or you can go to brownwaterbanter.com and see what he did for us. We're super happy, man. Easy to work with. He's just a great all-around dude, and he's local, so we always support local. And while we wait for some people to jump in here, Joey's hard at work. Boys,
I'm clicking away over here. What we're gonna do. This is more gonna be like a question and answer forum. So yeah, we're gonna let some people jump in, and then we're gonna talk to old Sebo over here and get his take on it, and let him educate us a little bit on what we don't know.
That's right. He's got notes. Yeah, he's got a bunch of notes. So we're gonna get deep into it today. While we're waiting for a few more y'all to jump in here. We're going to mention the Sheep's Head Showdown. Here's the flyer. I think it's the first time we've shared it on here like this. I don't know why we waited so long, but October the 2nd, downtown D'Iberville at the D'Iberville Marina, or the D'Iberville boat launch was how we refer to it. We're going to be giving away a lot of money and a lot of prizes. So if you're into money and prizes and fishing, it's pretty much an all-around event for you. $1,500 is going to the first place heaviest sheep's head. $700 for second place.
If you see a flyer with 1,000, that was me. I screwed that up.
He screwed that up.
First place is $1,500.
He tried to pocket $500 right out of the gate.
I needed some beer money.
Pocket. Yeah, but we caught him, so it's all good now. $1,500 for first place, $700 for second place, and $500 for the third place sheep's head, man. Wicked Fish, Biloxi Beach Resort Rentals, and Nerds LLC all sponsoring right there out the gate. I can't read the other ones.
That's Miss Carrie.
Yeah. What is it? What is her?
Carry Me Away.
Carry Me Away. That's right. So we appreciate that. We also have a triple tail division. $450 for first place, $150 for second place. Looks like Hull and Hitch grabbed that one, and Ocean Springs Marine Mart. There's a redfish division, a speckled trout division, and a completely separate spearfish division. So if you're into diving and spearfishing, you're going to have your own separate pot, and that's going to be based on the number of people that enter it. You'll keep the majority of that. It's going to be a 70-30 split, I believe, on entry fees for the spearfish guys.
Yes.
For the sheep's head division, the spearhead division, and the kids sheep's head division, they're all going to walk away with not only the cash and the prizes, but their very own WWE style championship belt. And we've shared some photos on Brownwater Banter's Facebook page, also the sheep's head showdowns page. So go check those out. They're super cool, and you can't be the champ without the belt. So that's all I'm going to say on that.
And I ordered some medals today. So instead of the first 10 prizes for kids trophies, it's going to be the first 15 medals.
Yep. Kids 12 and under enter for free. And they're going to take away medals, like Joey said, and the top one's going to take home a belt. So I've rattled off enough here. We got a few people in the comments below, but let me throw it up here. Let's take it right over here to you, Clarence, man. Tell us. Let's start from the beginning. Let's start from the beginning. You and Joey were talking a little bit before we went live.
Yeah.
What's the problem here? That they may be changing some of the bag limit size requirements on Cobia. Is that correct?
Yes, there's a document out through the Gulf Council, Amendment 32, which is a Cobia recalibration, alignment of size. Well, the size is at 36. It looks like they're going to there's several alternatives here for the. It goes anywhere from one fish per person per day, all the way down. So anyway, let's go back to they did the stock assessment from 2018 2019, something like that. It ended in 18 and 19. They found that the cobia in federal waters wasn't overfished, which you got to remember, the whole federal waters from Brownsville to Key West. So we're not just talking about 265.
Yeah.
So, which is comes up with from MRIP dockside surveys, telephone surveys. There's all different kinds of ways that MRIP and CDAR gets this information for a stock assessment. But under the Madison, they can't make a major change without stock assessments and any type of fisheries. It has to be the best available science on all species in the Gulf.
That's right. And we're talking about the Gulf. Let's move back. This is the Gulf Council, right? This is not state.
It's a federal level.
Okay. What is it made of?
NIPS and NOAA.
Okay.
It's comprised of Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. There's 17 members on the Gulf Council, 1 from NOAA. So you got 5 from Texas, 5 from Florida, or 4 from Texas, 4 from Florida, 3 from Mississippi, 3 from Alabama, and 3 from Louisiana.
And they make the rulings over the whole Gulf.
It has to make a 9-8 vote to pass. And of course, Andy Spellcheck with National Marine Fisheries is the tiebreaker.
Okay.
He is Roy Crabtree retired, so Andy took over. That's what. It's not like it's something they flip a coin and say, "Hey, we're going to change cobia to 1 per person."
Right.
This document was they come up with this document because, and from 2018 to 20, folks come to the podium from all over and said we got the cobia's in trouble, and they was mainly talking about the Panhandle. Not a bunch from Brownsville, not a bunch from Texas, come hard from the northern Panhandle of Florida.
Right.
Which I'm sure there's so many boats and people and towers, I'm sure they seeing problems.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened here. Now, as far as what I'm asking is, what is good for Mississippi?
Yeah. And
do we want to go strenuous, or are we worried about the future? We all know that it's not the same as it was.
Right.
We lost oil rigs. We lost structure. We lost shrimp boats. Shit, take 40 shrimp boats out of the fleet in the Gulf, you'd have checkup spots, and you might not find a lemon fish.
So name 3 people from Mississippi vote, right? You know.
Yes, we have Joe Spraggins with the DMR. Each state has a DMR representative on the council.
Okay.
Dale Diaz from D'Iberville is one of them. He's at large, and then Leanne Beausarge from Pascagoula. She votes for us, and this public hearing that's going to be coming up, they having a public hearing in Gulfport, be the first one since COVID. So it's actually in public, not virtual. I was like, whoa. But I just want to make sure the public knows that if you have a problem with the decisions that's fixing to be made, make your voice heard.
Yeah.
Get out there and say something. You don't have to go in person. You can do it email or whatever, but this is a very important fish to our area.
Right.
It's very sporty to us, and people love them, and we all grew up loving them.
Right.
So that's kind of but I read so much on Facebook. I was like, hey, Joey, let's have a discussion tonight about what folks think about what's going on with our cobia in our area. You like it? You don't? You think it's good? Have you ever been there? No.
So what the limit for what we can fish right now is what? Give us the limit.
2 per person. Which is, if you got 6 people on a boat, you can have 12 fish.
Right.
That's a lot of cobia. I don't know.
That is.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to do with all that, but the problem with making federal changes, the state does not have to make that change.
Yeah.
The state can stay or whatever they want. They can stay at 2 per person if the feds decide to make a change to 1 per person, 2 per boat. Because it's in alternatives here. We'll talk about that in a minute. So
let's talk real quick, because y'all brought this up. I wasn't aware about this, and if I'm saying this wrong, correct me. When you're saying the state doesn't have to follow a federal guideline change when it comes to this, correct?
They do not.
But that is only within the 9 miles or the 3 miles past the island. Explain that difference there.
Well,
state waters, federal waters.
Right.
Cobia, Spanish mackerel, and king mackerel fall under the coastal pelagic.
Okay.
Not reef.
Yes.
So they're different than snapper.
Correct.
Mangrove. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
They manage each species by certain categories.
Okay.
Reef has a category. Coastal pelagic has a category. Redfish has its own category.
Okay.
Shrimping has its own category in the federal fishery.
Right.
So that's, yes. Right now, so the cobia, king mackerel, and Spanish falls under this, which would be managed at 3 miles past the Barrier Islands in our area. The whole Gulf Coast, Gulf. In other words, the state enforcement, anything over 3 miles, if you had 12 cobia in your boat, you're getting a ticket if this changes.
Mm-hmm.
If you inside the line at 3, then the DMR would say, oh, you're okay.
Right.
So it's a fence jumping issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Normally, say triggerfish is open and closed through feds. Our DMR will close and open as the federal government does in federal waters. So that's kind of how, but in this situation here, they do not have to go by what the federal government recommends. They're not going to get penalized. They can make their own management's decisions on how they want to do it.
It's kind of what Texas and I think Louisiana did with snapper, right?
Correct.
And they did the same thing.
Well, Texas does it with red snapper,
right?
4 per person.
Yeah. So the feds say 2, but
Correct.
in Texas waters you can take 4.
That's right.
So same thing here. Even if the feds come back and say 1, Mississippi can still go back with the 2 per whatever they have set right now.
Correct.
As long as that's within 3 miles, no further than 3 miles past the Barrier Islands.
Correct.
Yes.
All right. That's a big distinction.
I learned that today.
No, the 9 mile boundary, and let's go back to that because Joey was asking me.
Mm-hmm.
It was put in the omnibus bill back when we had a 3-day red snapper season. The American public went strong into Congress, and Congress took over. And they said, let's go in the omnibus bill, move the line for a 9 mile state boundary for reef fish. And it's still in the omnibus bill today.
Okay.
And it probably will never get changed.
And that's reef fish, though. People pick up on
reef
that. Correct.
Fish.
That goes back to your snapper.
Not pelagic.
Correct.
Yes.
And that's not cobia.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
It's very wording, and you really have to pay attention. I mean, there's 1,700 hoops that we go through anywhere on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think even the 36 change was what, year and a half ago, maybe 2.
They're not even year 2. That's what kind of disturbs me about this because I wasn't expecting this document to fall through so fast after we do a length change.
Right.
We asked for something, but we're not.
And it went from 33 to the fork.
Yeah, 32 to 36.
32. Yeah, 36.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I'm not going to say, I mean, we did 2 or 3 cobia tournaments last year, and there were a few people that brought 33, 34-inch cobia to the scales, and they just didn't know. They didn't realize that it went on change.
A couple of weeks ago, before I zipped around and worked on it, found a few,
right?
But you're like, is that one 36? It's like you need a tape measure that goes on your line that you can't really guess. It's a 33, 32 to the fork was like, oh, there's no way. It's scooping.
Yeah.
But see, in this document, there is still options or later on of moving the size up to in the 40s to 45, and then it's called mortality rate. People can't just start gaffing fish and say they'll swim away.
They're not. They're dead.
No more thing I really don't like about fisheries rules is throwback rule. I've always been an advocate of let's catch it and keep it and go home.
That's we've said that a bunch with snapper.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to FH2 or FH3, some of the charter boats go,
right.
By the time you weed through 20 snapper to get your 4 studs, I mean, we do the vents. How many of them survive compared to if you just got out there and caught your 4 snapper and went home?
That's right. That's mortality rate. It's all calculated in the quotas anyway. It's like they do. It used to be 25% mortality rate on, just say if you had 1 million pounds, you're talking about 250,000 pounds dead
just
on the recreational sector. That's correct. So that's too big of a number. And same as speckled trout. Years ago, they was doing changes and always said we're using live shrimp, J hooks. We're touching with rags.
Yeah.
Why don't we just keep 10 and go home?
Yeah. Because by the time you throw them back over, if they're any kind of gut hooked or anything that, they're dead. By the time you stuck pliers in their mouth, they're
until
dead.
we get the American public to be all good stewards of the ocean and the fishery, it'll be rules and limits.
Yeah.
And there's going to be casualties of war because nobody says, well, that's enough for me.
Yeah,
we got a long way to go to get.
Everybody wants that big shot in front of the boat.
I think our kids might get it.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that on the show with people out there trying to change the meat haul photo to a release video and make that what's cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's slowly but kind of surely happening. I don't know that you see the meat hauls quite as much.
Yeah.
And when you do see them, you get people kind of bashing them in the comments below. I'm not saying that's the best thing to do either, because you don't know what they're doing with that meat, whether they're harvesting all of it and using it appropriately either. And as long as they're within the limits, it's their right to do. What is your take on this though? What do you think should happen as we get into this document?
On the Cobia, I like the part of getting the fishery back, but what scares me the most is if you start let's just go back to like redfish.
Yeah, 0
taking federal waters.
Right,
it's been like that since 1985, 86.
A lot of people don't know that.
They ain't gonna change it. I don't see it happen.
A lot of people don't know that.
I don't know why he's looking at me, but there might be a story about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my dad's fault.
Right. So right now, if on a federal level they start changing stuff like this drastic, which it's not that deal we have in here. Right now, I don't see a lot of folks slamming the dock with a 12 lemon fish a day with 6 people on the boat or what have you. I'm not. I might catch 1 or 2 or what have you, but I'm really concerned about what I've seen in the last, say, 20 some odd years on the decrease of what it takes in a spring migration. That's what the Florida guys really push for.
Yes.
They know, because it's not the younger fleet going to the podium. It's us seasoned people that's been on the water 200 to 300 days a year, whatever, 200 days a year that
make a living
understand what it was like to slam the dock with, 4 or 5 50s and a kicker 70 on Sunday and get your name on the board.
Right.
And I would love to see the heyday come back. I mean,
we talked about that a little bit when you was on here last time.
That's correct.
Yeah. The number of big cobia and the drastic, even like Gorn flows and Stanovich's tournaments and all those tournaments have dropped drastically. I think in the past 2 years, I think they might have bumped up just a tad, but before that, you don't see.
You got to remember, you're still not judging us in our boundary. I don't even know what our boundary is anymore with a boat with 4 engines that can go 50 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is, if you look at our area, that's my thing. I'm like, what do you want here? Do you want to go to Cocodrie and fish all the time? That's fine. But when our number is what's best for us.
Yeah.
And that's,
so you're talking about state line to state lines, Chandelier to Mobile Bay.
Correct. Put a straight line on it. And our tournaments show that at times we find very good fish, but some come from out of our backyard. Some come from Texas. I don't know where they come from.
Yeah.
But it's very important that everybody understands that what's the conservation level we're going to let this federal government situation. It's not we're not going to let them, but it's the voice that we're going to say, hey, there's several options here.
To me, on the fishery side, and I don't know much about it, but just from once the feds get their finger or foot in the door, it's kind of like
it's hard to get them to turn it back.
Right. Once it's done, you can't get it back. Now you can persuade them to stop it or delay it a little bit, but once it's done, you're probably not going to get it back.
Well, the Gulf Council procedure works, but it takes a long time to make it work.
Yeah.
They only meet 5 times a year.
And we've heard the debacle on the snapper side about the numbers and the miscalculations and blah, blah, blah.
It took several years to get this state snapper season through.
Right.
Because of the time and the public meetings and the documents. But now that we got it, I think it's working really good. I mean, I like red snapper closure. Some people don't, some people do, but
we talked about it with, I can't remember who we talked about it with at the beginning of snapper season this year before they shut it down. Everybody was hitting them on the inshore reefs, and then after they shut it down, it's kind of, they were few and far between the second part of snappers because they get hammered every day.
He's not a hard fish to catch.
No, he's not. I told y'all before, the red snapper's like a big giant bubblegum machine. Every time you turn the handle, they off planet Earth.
Yeah.
You spin the handle, they gone.
Yeah. Yeah. It had somebody explained it to us too about the water temperature and depth and stuff like that. It all plays in it. And y'all the the ones who are out on the water know it better than we are. We just talk about it. But where do you think that you said this thing came from Florida, right? You think it came from the Panhandle boys?
A couple years ago, before COVID, while at the council level, there was a lot of folks come from Panama City, Destin, and some parts of Orange Beach. And they pretty well got to the podium with big numbers. I'm talking about squeaky wheel get to grease.
Yeah.
So we in trouble. The fish is in trouble.
And JJ, if you don't know who JJ Brimble is, he's been on our show, and he's a Destin fisherman. And I think we talked about this one night drinking a bunch of whiskey. So I could be fuzzy on it. But
yeah, exactly.
He explained it to me with the hurricanes and COVID. It was almost like the Florida boys missed the run over here, and that hurt the fishing industry a lot. It seemed like more cobia made it to Mississippi this last year and this year than it did before with the hurricanes and the Florida boys with COVID not being able to fish as much. At least it did to me. And he explained that to me, and I was, that kind of makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
He might know more than me, but I wouldn't figure that a mask would stop somebody from sight fishing in Florida.
You're right.
Now, them being able to sell fish in Florida would be a different story.
Get into that, because we want to talk about that too, because I've never fished in Texas. Louisiana's a little different, but I don't know too many places where you can walk out on a pier from the beach and catch a 50-pound cobia off a pier.
I don't know, a year or two ago, Florida Wildlife, FWC, whatever that means, commission, whatever, they changed their cobia to 2 per boat, I think. I don't really know. Jarrett might could look it up real quick, but
what are we looking for? Cobia limit?
Florida cobia limit. But the thing is, they didn't take the fish off the market. In other words, you can still sell it as a private angler. It still can be sold by a recreational fisherman. In the state of Mississippi, that's a no-no.
We can't sell anything.
We're not selling nothing.
Right.
No, you're not selling a cobia in Mississippi, so
it says right here the minimum size limit is 33 inches to the fork length. Maximum size is none.
What's the bag?
1 per harvest or 6 per vessel per day, whichever is less. 1 per harvester. So 1 person per fish.
Yeah, that's what they knocked it down to.
Yeah, 1 person per fish or 6 per vessel per day, whichever is less.
That's what they knocked it down to. So that still allows them to have their big giant tournaments and still go and sell what they call it.
Right.
In Florida. Florida, as far as I know, is the only state that's not a sports fish. The cobia is a sports fish in the state of Mississippi. And I think in Louisiana too.
Do you know how is that determined? Sport fish.
Yeah, what makes it a sport fish?
Because typically your sport fish are not very good eating fish, correct?
Well, that's how Mississippi did it to get it off the commercial market. As an angler, you'd have to come in here you can't be a commercial fisherman and sell it as a commercial catch. They put it as a sports fish.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. I mean, I could be wrong.
Right.
Maybe somebody can chime in on that.
Chime in the comments.
We only had one coming from Danny Scurry. He just said, hit him with that fishery knowledge. And then Chelsea said earlier that she's looking forward to seeing us at the Sheep's Head Showdown. The Sticky Sisters will be slinging the cotton candy.
So that's who it is.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into some hot points. You got some notes written down there.
Yep.
What was the hot points off of them?
The hot points is Jerry, we're going to page 29.
All right.
Let's pull this document
up. Which is this would be the modification of the Gulf zone. Hey, this is also for the Atlantic zone too. So it goes more from Georgia, maybe Virginia down. So it's a pretty strong document right here.
Yeah.
It covers both sides.
All right, I got it pulled up.
All right, so in other words, a fella could go in there and say, well, alternative 1 would be no action. In other words, they could vote that we want alternative 1 to be no action, and they would make a motion and such as. So preferred alternative 2. So this has all come from probably the advisory panels from the Gulf Council. So they do have a coastal pelagic advisory panel. So they might have met virtually to come up with preferreds. And then they, through their pelagic meeting, they probably had all this done.
Right. So there's multiple options.
Yes, I'll go through them here.
Okay.
So preferred alternative 2 is reduced the daily possession limit to 1 per person, regardless of the number of duration of the trip. So that's 1 per person.
Okay.
And then preferred option 2 is recreational sector and commercial sector. So if you're a commercial fisherman doing red snapper, this would mean that he could only have one one cobia per person on his vessel. Now he can have his 1,500 pounds of red snapper, but he can't have but one cobia.
Right.
So that shortens the cobias. Instead of them having 10 or 12 for if they have 2 people on board.
Right.
So they could only have 2 per trip.
Minus 1 fish per person.
Yeah. And then preferred alternative 3 would be a create a recreational vessel limit. Fishers may not exceed the personal daily possession limit. That would be something they would add in. So a vessel limit would be 4 per boat or 2 per boat.
Wouldn't matter how many people's on the boat.
Yes.
You wouldn't care.
So the alternative, they could take alternative 3 and they would make a motion to say, let's change it to 4 per person. They would vote on that, blah, 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 blah. So that they'd have to go through this whole thing and get it to where it's at.
Yeah.
All right. Then the options 3A would be, would be the options. So it'd be, so that alternative A. So here's the options. It's already there. 2 fish per trip, and then a limit of vessel of 4 per trip and 6 per trip. So if you chose alternative 3,
I see what it's saying. It goes by the boat, and then they'll figure out the number on these options.
Correct. And then if they chose alternative 4, then the commercial trip limit would also not exceed the possession daily limit. So they protecting it's not all about, it's just both recreational and commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So they're making sure that they're not going to have over their limit.
Yeah.
So that would be the option. So the commercial limit would only have 2, 4, or 6. So I'd knock them down to only be able to have a few fish every trip.
Right.
To me, this right here is a very, it's a strong way to knock it down for everybody. Not recreational. It's both. So we still have to consider, like, there's probably going to be a lot of people say, well, just leave it the way it is. But you got to remember, do we want to rebuild a stock or not?
Yeah. And to be, I don't want to sound like a haggler, but I mean, to be honest, besides tournament days, how many days do you go and say, I'm just going to target cobia with the people you book trips with?
None.
Right.
It's a bycatch for me.
Right.
But there is days that I say, I'm going after a cobia.
Yes.
I know where they're at, and I'm going to go do it. And then tournament days, yes, we're definitely targeting cobia.
Yeah.
And even at 4 per trip per boat, you can still have a tournament, but you're not really slamming the dock with 10 or 12, 15 fish a trip.
Right. And even the big tournaments around here, what is it, 3 fish?
Right.
So you're only taking the heaviest 3 fish anyways.
Right.
So we're at 4 or even 6, you're still good. You know what I'm saying?
But the main thing is, if you start doing stuff like this, it's just like we're guessing on a 36 fork fish. There's going to be some casualties of war when you make this big of change.
Right.
And it's especially in the tournament days, and anybody just playing around and really don't know what a cobia is really doing, or haven't seen one in a while. Like, oh,
because they look way bigger in the water.
They look like, they're like, oh, I'd like to see the boogeyman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once somebody says cobia, it's like a Chinese fire drill.
Everybody done lost their mind.
Going all over the place.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't, like you say, too. I mean, it ain't like you can put a tape measure on him on the side of the boat and risk him getting off or losing a fish, you know.
And if you forget your dip net, if you don't have a big enough dip net,
there's nothing worse.
They'll swim through a net that's rotten.
Yeah.
And then you stick one and you throw it on a boat and it's 34 inches.
Yeah, and you sick.
Right. And then now you kill the fish.
Right. Because believe it or not, people don't want to do that. Fishermen
do not
want to do that.
And now you got to throw it back.
That's correct.
And he's just going to go. He's going to go straight to the bottom. Sharks going to eat him. Crabs going to eat him. He's going to be dead.
I guess it stays in the ecosystem, but it still doesn't.
But he's not producing more cobia. Or he
Correct.
or she's not producing more cobia, which they should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, as a private angler, I really don't know. I haven't really decided where I'm at on this, but I mean, there's your options, and you have to choose which one you would recommend. If it's no action, is it 1 per person, or you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm trying to figure out. If I write my written comment by email and say, hey, I would like
Now that's how this vote is swayed, right? You have an option.
They're going to look at the comments.
You have an opinion, you have an option, you have a vote not a vote, but you have an option to write in to or be live or be in person at that meeting, which is in Gulfport, right?
Yeah, it says it's October 5th, Holiday Inn. Is it 6 o'clock?
6 to 9.
Yeah, it runs from 6 to 9. Yeah,
so,
they give you 3 minutes to speak your piece. You only have to say, but I want this, this, and this.
Yeah.
I don't want no change. You can do whatever you want.
And they're going to listen to your opinion and take that all into
consideration.
consideration.
Yeah, it's their constituents. I mean, they want to represent what the people around here want because they want to get reelected again and make sure that they're doing what's right for
they'll be there.
The people they represent. So I think you started this whole thing earlier as to say, it's just like with voting in any type of election, make your voice be heard and come out to the meeting or join virtually. You said you could do that as well, right?
It's virtual.
They got a virtual too.
So do that and let people know what you think, right? I mean, it's an important thing for everybody around here, especially the community that we speak to.
What about Joe? We was talking about our notes. You remember all the comments about the oil rig loss?
Yeah. There's no good oil rigs left out there.
Yeah, they didn't start pulling them yesterday. They've been pulling for 25 years.
There's been rigs cut down just about. They do probably 2, 3, 4 a year. Exactly. 265 was probably the latest casualty this way.
If I'm not mistaken, in the shallow field off of Curlew, they started them in the 90s. They started clipping them because the jackup rigs would be on side of them. And that's what they was doing was breaking them down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there was 100 and something in that field at the time.
So when they pull them completely, that's where it screws everything up. When they cut them off, it's not that bad if you still got the numbers. But when they pull them completely, that's when it's totally gone.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's another family that the shrimpers have their place some days. Just like John Dutton said, don't give an inch.
Yeah.
Shrimpers feel the same way. They don't want an inch.
Yeah.
The more we ask as a private angler, we're wanting bottom. Takes away from the shrimp bottom.
Mm-hmm. They want to pull.
They want to pull.
Yeah, where the rigs.
They don't want to run into a wreck and tear their net up.
Right.
They want to catch fish for the American public. Shrimp.
Yeah.
I guess I don't. And everything goes back to the clean, getting away from oil.
That's right.
And to me, I'm all about it if it works. But come down here during hurricane season. Come down here with, what I'm saying, when power goes out, do you think they bring solar panels over here, or do you think they bring gas generators over here to get the world back together?
Chances in the comment, he said 2 fish per boat, keep the length the same. Let me see here. 108 had lost half of its rigs in the past 2 years. The 3 black abandoned rigs south are being pulled right now.
Yeah, and that's not only fisheries, that's jobs. And to Mississippi, Louisiana.
That's job.
Yeah. I mean, that's fed. It's kind of like the shipyard in Mississippi. I mean, Louisiana, that's fed probably half the people in Louisiana, them oil rigs.
Now, I would assume that those rigs are getting pulled because the oil companies decide that it's not profitable for them right now. It's not the fisheries that are shutting them down, correct?
From what I understand, they're considered derelict. They're doing zero.
Yeah.
They're derelict is what they call them. They're aid to navigation and whatever. They're hazardous. Shrimp boats, boaters, whatever.
But it seems that doesn't make sense to me because it's a fish habitat. It's marked on every GPS that you have.
Exactly.
Fish, I mean, shrimpers have the best GPS and radar there are. Fishermen have GPS. If you don't see an oil rig or hear it from miles away, that's on you.
Well, and the thing is nobody, I mean, for the purpose of this discussion, you're talking about a fish haven is what you want, correct? And you don't really care about the production of oil for this topic. I get it, jobs and all that.
So
why can't we just create more artificial reefs and mark those on GPS? I get shrimpers don't want to run over them. That makes perfect sense. But it seems to me we could bury some concrete structures and mark it.
It's not the same as a rig, though. I don't think it is.
Not totally. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, right now, you got to remember.
They like the height of everything.
Yeah.
Too,
I mean, you got all the way to the water column, all the way down.
Correct.
We'll jump on the subject of that. There was a permit going out to NOAA or whoever to add Fish Haven 2 and 13. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, the Shrimping Alliance is what stopped it because you're giving away a square mile of bottom.
Right.
And see, to me, FH2 and FH13, when I fish them, it's so small. And every time a hurricane comes, it gets covered up with mud.
They're going to get covered.
So, I mean,
I
understand what you did there, and that's great. but now the bottom's just mud like it used to be. There's no structure there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Everybody's got their own agenda. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
Everybody's got their own.
That's why I was wanting this agenda. What about maybe we get some comments on like I said, you want to.
Evan says replace them with floating structures.
All right, and then have anglers seen more or less cobia since they changed it to 36 on fork? That's the
what do y'all think,
guys?
What? How many people's watching right now?
We got about 15.
15 people right now. They are probably all fish cobia at one set of time. Have y'all seen more or less cobia in the past 2 years?
Yeah,
and juvenile or
all of it.
Yeah, any cobia. Have y'all seen less or more?
I don't think you would say more to any species, really. I mean,
yeah.
Well,
not more.
Catfish.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, I just like to know. I mean, what are y'all seeing on
to
the
me,
weekends?
I think personally, the last 2 years has been better for Mississippi for cobia. To me, now, I don't fish it every day. I don't know, but as far as I've seen tournament wise, I think there were bigger cobia weighed in the past 2 years than there were the previous 5.
Derek says you got to make the bag limit smaller and the minimum size larger. Got to let all the fish breed at least once if we're going to rebuild it. And he says there's definitely less and there's worse every year.
That's Derek Socha?
Yep.
Yeah, he's right. Derek knows. He knows like me.
How if we go bigger, it would have to be bigger than 36 inches.
That was part of that when they changed it to 36 to go to 40. But
that's a big cobia,
and that's what got the 40 knocked down. Was the average angler can't guess a 40-inch fish, and they don't have a big enough dip net,
right?
And you can't really say it's mandatory to tote a 32-inch dip net.
A 40-inch cobia is what, 40, 50 pounds?
Somewhere.
Well,
if a short, stocky one can be.
Yeah.
I don't know, say 30. Just guess it.
Yeah, 30, 40 pounds.
That's a nice fish.
Yeah.
George is in the comments. He says that as a diver spearing on both sides of the Mississippi River, I don't see the difference. He said, as a selective fisherman, 32 is too small.
Yeah.
Well,
that was the reason why they changed.
That
was one of them.
Yeah. Where's he fishing at? He's probably Louisiana. What's Louisiana's? 32?
It's the same as
okay. What's their state?
It should be the same. I think they changed too.
Did they? Everybody went to 36?
Except for Florida, looks like.
Dan Henson says last couple of years are smaller fish.
Right.
That's okay. Okay. Maybe so.
I mean, the last ride I took, we like at on the snapper reefs for the 2 months of out there by the models and different places I went. The incidentals was they roll up behind the boat. Yes. They follow a snapper up there. They hook them accidentally in the lip, and then we're guessing, and we got a snapper dip net, not the big one.
Yeah.
And we're trying to I had a couple of them I played out and grabbed them by the lip, and kind
of like a bass.
Oh yeah.
Put them in the boat.
Slung them in a boat and 34 inches. It's just so close that
you can't tell.
We can't tell.
Mm-hmm. No matter how many
40-inch would be even worse.
40.
I get Derek's thing, but that's what scared me as the throwback rule.
And when you hook that thing and everybody starts going crazy, the first thing you're going to reach for is a gaff.
But this is the dilemma that we're here for.
Yeah.
Because everybody's saying, well, what you going to do? You can't throw back a 60-pounder.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it. That's going to the Lake Crisco.
Yeah. Lake Crisco.
In chunks.
That's what I was going to say earlier. Yeah. Even the ones that died to get eaten by the sharks. I mean, he ain't sitting on a bed of rice with butter sauce on him. You know what I mean?
No, he's going to the bottom.
I mean,
that's a problem.
Like I said, and then let's see here. Cobia's not a sport fish in Mississippi. Not on commercial. If you call, say, Death Sports and want some cobia, they probably have to come from somewhere else. I don't think they get them locally.
From Florida.
Yeah. If I had to guess.
Why is that? Why does Florida get away with that and we don't?
Well, if they have a state commission of 5 people, it don't take with 3 votes to win.
To sway that.
That's right.
More stroke.
Yeah.
3-1, 3-2.
That's crazy.
It's always better to have more stroke.
So if we want to voice our opinion, we said it earlier. Where's the meeting at again? It's on Highway 49.
It's Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
On 49. But bad thing is they're having it during cruising the coast.
Oh shit.
Yes.
Why'd they do that? You ain't be able to get there if you wanted to go.
Well, they didn't have a cruising the coast in Destin and Clearwater and such as, but they just ended up there.
Yeah, there's
matter of fact, DMR offered the Bolton building to them to have this public hearing.
There's a bunch of dates in a bunch of states.
Yeah, I see all them dates and all that has to be, you have to put this out to public
Right.
comment before they can even talk about this document.
Yeah,
this document won't be talked about until October.
It looks like Destin, Florida, the 4th.
There you go.
Gulfport, the 5th. Corpus Christi, the 6th.
See, they got to move staff.
Galveston,
staff is moving.
Yeah, Galveston, the 7th. Then they go back to Florida, the 13th, and then Baton Rouge, the 14th, Fort Myers, the 18th, and then Orange Beach is where they end up.
Right.
So that's a pile of hearings. And then the webinar hearing is going to be October 19th, which is my birthday, which is the greatest day of the week. Greatest day of the year at 6 to 9. And you can go register. You put this website. Did you put the website up there?
I can put it in the comments.
Yeah. It's the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council.
Okay. The Fishery Council?
Yeah. Gulf of Mexico Fisheries Council. Fisheries Management Council.
Yeah, I'm just going to copy that.
Our email too.
A lot of good information. Hopefully everybody out there listening and watching the live stream, if you got an opinion, voice it in the comments.
Yeah, tell us what you're thinking. If you think that it needs to be 2 fish, 1 fish, what the fork limit needs to be.
Jerry, go to page 34. There's where then I'll answer Joey's question on that one.
Get down there to it. I can type it right here, I think.
I just scrolled down on mine.
Yeah, but the pages are off.
Oh, they're off
34.
A little bit. Yeah. Bottom discussion.
Mm-hmm. And this thing is how long? How long is this document? Like 100 and something pages of black and white?
I was going to print it, but it's just.
We either ran out of ink.
I run out of ink.
All right, go ahead. We got it.
Says discussion.
Yep.
Action 5.2 is considered modified possession of vessels, tripling of Cobia and landing in the FLE zone. Range alternative include the actions the same as included, which is the same as the Gulf. It says, as you go on, the council has received public testimony recommending possession limits similar to established by the state of Florida for Cobia caught in the South Atlantic, which it's on the other one too, but I passed it up. In the state waters of Florida, FWC enforcement a daily bag fish of 1 fish per person, 6 per vessel, whichever is less.
Okay,
that's what started the document right there. So, the document come from the state of Florida,
right?
We're in Mississippi. That's what I've come here to say is what do we think is good
better for the state of Mississippi?
Yes.
Yeah.
And with that, I hate to say this because we're about to put a fishing tournament on, but do you think that has something to do with it? The fishing tournaments around here just strictly for Cobia?
I mean, how many are there?
No. They fish for $100,000 in Destin.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
We got chump change around here.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. All the way on the Gulf Coast. Do you think just targeting Cobia and fishing tournaments are putting a hinder on that?
They can't catch the big girls and that they've been doing, and then they pay panicking and they want changes. I mean, I get the changes.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if you want to do something, cut your tower off. The tower's not allowed. If you can't catch them off a bow, you ain't catching them.
You ain't spot fishing.
Correct. You can't fish off.
Come to that dirty water where you can't see them.
Go to that dirty water.
Yeah. Go to that brown water. You can't see them.
Evan said 2 per person is too much. 1 per angler is more than enough.
All right. So what?
I agree with that.
Yeah. So 1 per angler, keeping it at 36. Is that what the consensus says?
Well, the size is not in the document. It's all about the possession.
Okay. So we're really talking 1 or 2 fish here.
Correct.
And I'm to me, to be honest, if I'm going Cobia fishing, which we never go Cobia, I don't ever go Cobia fishing. I'm usually going snapper fishing. and then on the way back in, we're going to hit rigs and hopefully luck up and hit a cobia on the way in. So if we hit 1 or 2, I'm happy with it. Now, I don't know if I've ever been on a trip where I've caught, you probably did back in the heyday, where we caught 8, 10, 12 cobia that were legal limits.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't.
Were you wanting me to share the link in the comments to get to the document that we were reading, Joey, or were you just saying
you can, and maybe somebody might want to read it?
Yeah.
If you go to you go to our email too, it's got the
I'm just
where all the meetings are too.
So what Evan just said, he likes preferred alternative 2, which is 1 fish per person, regardless of the duration of the trip. So if you got 5 people, or you can have 5 fish.
Well, I think the whole thing of this episode is you have an opinion and you can voice it.
Correct.
And this is your time to voice your opinion. So if you fish cobia or linen fish or ling or whatever you want to call it, and you feel like these changes might affect you, then you can write into the Gulf Council or tune into the Gulf Council and put your opinion in there. Go hang out with them one day.
Yeah.
Are you're going to the meeting?
Oh yeah, I'll be there.
I'm going to share it right here.
Get it out there.
I'm pretty sure I'll be there.
It's cruising the coast. You might not be able to get there.
Well, thing is, I'd love to. I mean, I'm here today to teach our young people that it ain't all about what you want to rat and rave on Facebook.
Right.
Let's get it, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And what's crazy to me, the Florida guys brought it up because that's usually their cash crop. That's usually their money maker is a cobia. You know
spring break. Think about it.
Yeah, that's what the
and
people go down
this
there.
This whole
for.
document's full of economical benefits and all that. There's a reason why all them dollars is in there.
Yeah.
So if it's coming from Florida, it should.
Panama City is in. They're hurting for cobia.
Really.
But I mean, if you got a fly bridge, a tower without a shade tree on top, there's a reason that you're. I mean, they stick out like a sore thumb over there.
Right.
You see the bottom in 35 foot.
When they're just cruising.
They just doing their thing.
Yeah. Sight casting, kind of like we do for redfish over here.
Yep. I shared it in the comments, man. Go check it out. October the 5th. It's the second link that I shared in the whichever, if you're on Facebook or YouTube. So click on that, check it out. Go make your voice heard.
What else did we hit?
Yeah.
We get everything on your notes?
Yeah. Looks like we did. Other than page 7, CDAR.
Let's see that. What's that say?
I'll go to it. I'll just make it quick. The CDAR report said that the fishery was not overfished. So that's what I see it like. All right, we're going to take that with a grain of salt. So what's good for Mississippi is what I'm asking.
So the actual report said that the cobia weren't overfished.
Correct. Page 7.
Which is crazy because they say everything is overfished.
Update a stock assessment. CDAR 28 update stock assessment of Gulf Group cobia was completed in July of 2020 with the terminal year dated in 2018 CDAR 28 update 20. CDAR 28 update includes updated recreational catch and effort data revealing use of MRIP and FEC, whatever, which formally replaces MRIP chip of 18. So it's got to go about it. Change results, increase estimate, the virgin spawn stock biomass recruited of projected yields. Results, there was update indicate that the Gulf cobia is undergoing overfishing with the biomass reducing levels. So it does say it went overfishing, but
yeah.
So that starts most of it. But
do you think they'll go to a tails and scales kind of thing?
Not on the private,
like a report,
not on a private angler, but the for-hire sector will.
Yeah,
there's too much they want to know about the private. The private's not going to get that. They'll pick them up on dockside surveys, other than like us. We're going to be electronic logbooks.
Yes.
So, which what I say it was 1,200 and something federally permitted, probably about 600 to 700 participate in the fishery every day.
Yeah. So the wreck guys will get them at the dock too, you think?
Yeah, they'll catch them at the pier.
Yeah, and see how many you got and how many's going on.
Right.
Man, I don't know. I don't know where I sit on that. I'm going to have to go. check this document out. Like I said, we're going to post it in the comments. And if you got anything else to ask while we're sitting here right now, you got a few more minutes before we wind this up. But what's best for Mississippi? Leave it in the comments. And this thing's if we don't go live, I mean, once we get done going live, I mean, leave the comments in the document.
Yeah, we can still reply. Clarence can still reply to the comments even after this is over with, so we can keep the discussion going.
Well, the thing is, if you do, if you're in a Federal Register public testimony, if one person's there, I'm not with any group or CCA, but if you have a quorum of folks that say, I like this, this, and this, on record, I can speak for folks.
Right. It's documented testimony is what you're saying.
Correct. But I can't make stuff up and say, this is what we want.
Right.
You got to have some proof behind it.
I would say, hey, we did a podcast the other day, and this is the results we come up with.
Right.
Yeah. Do the charter boats have that kind of as a,
no,
you know what I'm saying?
Network.
Yeah. No, we don't have any groups anymore. But see, one person can go to the podium and represent his organization.
Right.
But you can't go and represent the whole Mississippi Gulf Coast, but you can represent a few people that you fish with and say, hey, I spoke to some guys and this is what they said.
Right.
That's adamant cobia fishermen.
Right.
And it means a lot.
So you could represent all of Small Craft Harbor.
I could.
Or Point Cadet or wherever you wanted to.
If I was appointed to and we had a meeting.
Yeah. Kind of like what we're doing now.
Yeah.
This is a public meeting.
Yeah. So if you want, whatever your opinion is, and you want to voice it, put it in the middle of the comments.
I've done it before in front of the Gulf Council before.
I think it irks me that a lot of people, and I've done it before, but you get out there and complain about fishing limits and stuff like that, and then you don't do anything about it. You complain to your buddy at the dock, and then when you have a forum to speak your mind and put your boat in, you don't do anything about it. So don't talk about cobia fisheries, and don't talk about it.
Be about it.
That's right. If
don't
you're not
talk
going to come
about
out
it.
That's it. That's what we're going to do.
If you want to see the big girls come back, what's the best we think is going to happen?
Yeah.
I'd love to see the big girls back.
Thanks for getting the debate or the conversation started, taking time out of your evening to hit us up, come out here and chat. I know we appreciate it. Hopefully everybody in the comments appreciates it. If you got something to say it down there and let us know, man. Everybody wants to hear what you got to think. Please. October the 5th's coming up, right?
We always talk about it's your choice to rock the boat, and if you don't say anything, then you can't say anything after it's
complain
done.
about it.
That's right.
That's right.
All right. Thank y'all so much for tuning in on the live stream. Thanks for listening on the audio podcast, and we'll see y'all on the next one.
Later.